Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. The roadmap has been updated with the 317.2 and 318 column. Let us take a look at what to expect coming this year. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and if you do appreciate my content, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. So the roadmap was finally updated with new features for both the 317.2 patch, which is set to go live around the end of June, and the Alpha 318 patch, which will hit the PTU once the 317.2 patch is live, and will remain in the PTU for about 2 to 3 months of testing, going through the waves of Evocati, Wave 1, Wave 2 and so on as and when necessary, and eventually releasing to live around Q3, so around the end of September. Now this is of course relative to how smooth the rollout of 318 goes, as they do mention it does contain new core tech called persistent entity streaming, which will change how state is recorded and likely have a lot of edge cases and issues that they could not have foreseen. So let us take a look at what is coming around for 317.2 and things that they have listed as tentative. Do bear in mind though that the release viewer section of the roadmap, they have combined features from 317, 317.1 and 317.2 into the one column. And for 317.1, the Drake Mule is a new addition which is to be delivered very soon, in fact, as it should be releasing on Drake's Day of Invictus Week. I do feel I will be purchasing this little guy. I do love the look of it, even as just an LTI token, but I will certainly need to learn more about it. So, for 317.2, the first new addition is titled Illegal Delivery Missions, which is implementing illegal variants of the delivery missions we have into the persistent universe, including reputation gains with criminal factions. Now, although I am more of a good side of the law citizen myself, I do like the idea of doing a few kind of under the radar smuggling missions. So aside from finally being able to build up rep with criminal factions, which is a great addition for pirates or criminals, it will be fun trying to evade the security ships who are trying to scan you for illegal goods. So a nice new addition that is finally expanding on the pirate side of life, and for those wanting to play as a smuggler, it kind of gives you a bit more roleplay there. Now the next feature is additional Stanton Lagrange points, which is implementing additional rest stop locations surrounding specifically Microtech and ArcCorp, including both the stations themselves and the gas clouds surrounding them. So nothing overly exciting here, just providing more station locations to match up with places like Hurston and Crusader, just building more infrastructure in Stanton. Now this next feature is called the Siege of Orison, which is this new dynamic event where players must liberate the floating platforms of Orison from the Nine Tails gang, and this, they say, will feature both FPS and flight combat. Now I'm personally quite excited for this, not just because it's a new dynamic event which will be a great addition to Xeno Threat and this Nine Tails lockdown event that we've been playing previously, but more that it involves FPS, and the location that it all takes place in does look pretty interesting. I am hoping I'll have time to jump in with my org and actually play through it, but we will see. Now, the next feature is definitely an exciting one for me personally. It is the Derelict Reclaimer points of interest, which will be scattered on planets and in space, and contain some type of activity, be that a puzzle, a traversal task, or missions, along with lootable boxes. So just like what we see with the new Caterpillar X, these will have the loot boxes inside, probably laser trip mines and other challenges, plus they will be locations that are newly hooked into missions, so things like looking for the black box, missing crew, Zeta Prolinide missions as well. But what is more exciting about these Derelict Reclaimers is that it brings us into the last feature that has been added for now, and that is that they will have NPCs at them. So as I say, the final feature for Alpha 317.2, as it stands right now, I'm sure they will add more later on, is the AI planetary navigation. So this is massive news, and as it says, this system allows NPCs to move on planetary surfaces using a dynamically generated navigation mesh, which will efficiently process planetary terrain and objects to prioritize the processing of the environment around the player into NavMesh, allowing the use of all existing functionalities on planets, with the first implementation of this feature being used on the Reclaimer Derelict points of interest. So basically for 317.2, there will be NPCs not just inside Reclaimer X, I would think, but also outside, maybe patrolling, static guards, protecting them from players, and we as the player will need to fight them before securing it to loot or finish the mission. This I am ecstatic about. Really happy that this is the patch that they are finally bringing external NPCs. I have mentioned it previously that I'm hoping it's going to be 317.2, but it could equally be 318. So very happy to see it is the first patch that's coming at the end of June. This will be so much fun with friends, with the org, attacking the wrecks, and just creating so much more danger to the wreck sites themselves. Not to mention the wrecks will be new to us anyway, but do bear in mind it is just the first implementation of the NavMesh while they test it out and prove it out, and it will expand to more locations, more points of interest where NPCs can be. Plus, it won't be too long till we see NPCs flying and landing to do things like reinforce, cargo deliveries, that kind of thing. So another major milestone here with 17.2 in finally getting AI capable of navigating on an external planetary surface, and a big win for the future of the project and its expansion. Now that is all that is currently slated as tentative for Alpha 3.17.2. There is a good chance that we will see a lot more get added to this column as they get closer to releasing it. Plus, there is often smaller under-the-hood updates like balancing and changes to other systems that will come in. But we won't really hear more about that until it gets into the PTU at the least. So there is a good chance that 3.17.2 does hold a little more than what we see here. But even if this is it, I am more than happy. Now, there is one new addition to Alpha 3.18's column, but again, it'll likely expand as we get closer to its release through the PTU. And that is just persistent entity streaming, which, as we know, is this core tech that will make use of the entity graph and replication layer that came in the previous patch to allow every dynamic object in the game to fully persist across all servers, irrelevant of whether it is owned or held by a player. And as we mentioned earlier, once 3.17.2 is out of the PTU or maybe getting close to live, the 3.18 will start rolling out to the PTU. Again, beginning with Evocati, NDA, we won't technically be able to see anything about it, but then it will slowly expand to the other waves. But again, although I do feel like there is enough on their plate with persistent entity streaming, cargo refactor, and what else is slated for 3.18, there is a potential for more to come to it. If it doesn't, I don't mind. I just want to get this persistent entity streaming sorted, working as it should do, but I don't think they have quite put everything on for 3.18 that they intend. Now, there was 2 unannounced vehicle cards revealed on the progress tracker, which are the Drake Mule and Anvil Legionnaire, which we now know about. And finally, CIG have added an Alpha 3.19 update to the end of Quarter 4 on the release viewer, which they say will have a similar testing approach as 3.19 for the initial release of server meshing, the Pyro system, and more in Alpha 4.0. Now, I could be wrong here, but what I think they're saying here is that 3.19 will release to live with more content like we see with 3.17.2, while 4.0 is on the PTU and getting tested, rather than not providing a new patch for the end of the year as 4.0 is currently expected to release live in Quarter 1 next year, with obviously PTU testing of server meshing and Pyro beginning this year. If this is the case, then I am happy that they are continuing to update the Persistent Universe live build with new content, while the big stuff that requires more time in getting the attention it needs for those willing to provide it. So fingers crossed that's what it means. I don't see what it would mean otherwise, but a great update this week with some very exciting features coming in the next patch to keep us all going while we wait for these bigger features like 3.18 and 4.0. They are making great progress here getting this core tech in, all the while continuing to provide other features. Really looking forward to checking out 3.17.2 and 3.18 on the PTU when that is ready. It is going to be quite an exciting but very bumpy road this year, I think, but I am all in. Anyway, that was this week's roadmap update. If you do enjoy my videos, as I say, please do consider subscribing. We are getting close to 50,000 subscribers. Also, feel free to come and follow me over at twitch.tv/supermacbrother. I will be live again in the near future, but right now I am just taking a couple of weeks off of the streams as my baby girl is due on Friday, tomorrow in fact. So videos may slow down a little bit for a couple of weeks as well while we get into a new routine and I just spend time with my new family. But I will be back to normal, well, the new normal, as soon as possible. And thank you for all the kind words and support. It is very much appreciated. Hit that thumbs up if you don't mind. Does do the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.